Welcome back to another Accidentally Intentional podcast episode. And I'm really excited about this one because today I am joined by America's career coach, Ken Coleman. And what you need to know about this episode is that the whole podcast centers around destroying loneliness to build rich relationships. But our relationship with our career is intimately intertwined with the rest of our relationships. And so I have Ken on to talk through all of this with us because if you're listening to this present day, it's 2024, the job market's crazy. Every market is actually crazy right now, and Ken is going to break all of it down for us. And Ken is a nationally syndicated radio host of the Ken Coleman Show, where he helps people by giving career advice and encouragement. He's a best-selling author of 2 books, The Proximity Principle and From Paycheck to Purpose. And then he has a new book out where you're going to see just how explosively passionate he is about helping you find the work you're wired to do. So without further ado, Ken Coleman, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my gosh, it's exciting. Even I'm excited to hear me talk now. This is quite the intro. Thank you.
Of course. So, Ken, it's 2024. Everything's going haywire.
Mhm.
You take calls day in and day out with people that are desperately looking for help when it comes to making decisions in their career, finding what it is that they want to do. I want to start here. Not a softball of a question at all, but I want to start with what are misconceptions that Americans are currently having about what their career is supposed to be?
Mm. Yeah, I think one of the big misconceptions is that it's just supposed to be this the basic thing that
Mm,
I've got good benefits, I've got some good PTO, I'm not miserable.
yeah.
It's safe and give me some good options here that I can pivot down the road. I think
Yeah.
most people kind of look at it that way, as
Mm,
opposed to with great intentionality. This
mm,
idea of, wait a second, this could be a pathway where I make a lot of my dreams come true. I make the contribution to the world that I
mm,
was wired to make. And I just don't think we think about it that way. We think about it because it's so institutionalized.
yeah.
We come through K through 12 and we're programmed to be a rule follower,
Yeah.
a test taker, a conformist is essentially what our education system does. It turns us into conformists.
Mm,
And that begs the question, well, what are we conforming to? Well, we're conforming to a system where we then are put pressure to go to college, to get a degree, then get a safe job.
mm,
And then what? Well, we save a little money, we invest a little money, and you wake up somewhere in your mid 40s and you're going, what? And here's what's interesting. We're starting to see the younger generation wake up to this really early in their first jobs. We're seeing these TikToks that are going very viral of young people sitting in their car and literally going,
mm,
is this what I work for? I can barely pay my rent and I can barely pay my student loan. And so they're rightfully questioning. And I've reacted to some of these TikToks on my show, and instead of coming across like an angry boomer, like, you know, you know, buck up, buttercup, the position I'm taking is I'm legitimately empathizing with them because they've
mm,
been sold this incorrect narrative. This actually it would be an incomplete narrative,
mm.
and they're asking the right question: is this all there is?
Yeah.
Is that I'm struggling for a while and then I get a little bit of margin? So I think that's the big misconception
Yeah.
that we've been sold, that a job is just about providing for yourself and that's it,
Mhm,
as
mhm,
opposed to, wait a second, I am uniquely made and I'm wired, right? Find the
right.
work you're wired to do. There's work that I'm wired to do. In other words, I'm good at it, I enjoy it, and it creates a result that I care about. And
Mhm,
and we've all wrestled with that. And we all understand that, right? We'll say things like, you were born for this, or you're just a natural. These are
mhm,
phrases we all use when we describe somebody who is essentially doing something they're wired to do. And so when you're wired to do it, um, it brings so much more to your life, and and
mm.
and you now no longer look at a job as just this thing that allows me to provide for myself,
Yeah.
but it allows me to be myself.
Yeah.
And man, that's really special when people
Mm.
can feel that. By the way, that has a huge impact on your physical and emotional and mental health as well when
For
you're actually
sure.
doing that thing you're wired to do.
Yeah. So, would you say then that you believe everyone has the ability and deserves to do work that they're wired to do?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so obvious, because
Yeah.
see, if I speak to your design, if I learn about you and I learn that you came into this world hardwired with certain talents that you've now developed or can develop into very specific skills,
Hmm.
and then we know that different different things make different people excited. And so if you love organizational work or detail project type work that makes you happy, well, again, that's just the way you're wired.
Yeah.
It also speaks to the environment you grew up in. The life you've lived to this point shapes your heart. And so that gets to
Hmm.
that third element, that third wire we call mission. In other words, results that you care deeply about. That comes from your environment and your experience. And so when you begin to understand that we all are shaped, our heart is shaped through the environment we grew up in and the experiences we've lived through to this
Mm.
point, and you see, yes, there is in fact, you each are a unique cocktail mix. And that's huge. And I think we're living in a day and age where so many people are searching for this kind of answer, they don't even realize that's what they're searching for.
Yeah.
But everybody longs to go, what's my mark? Can I make it? We want to make a difference.
Yes. So I 100% agree with that. But I wonder about the person that actually doesn't believe that for themselves.
Hmm.
So I want to ask this question.
Okay.
Can you learn to love your work? Or what's the disconnect if not?
I don't think it depends on how we break that phrase down. I really like the question, and I like wrestling with this. This is for the cynic, essentially, is what you're
Yes.
asking me.
Yes.
Well, look, if you do not love, if you do not naturally love the fundamentals,
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of a better way to say it. If you don't have a natural enjoyment and a natural like, let's put it that
Hmm.
way,
Hmm.
for a certain type of work,
Yeah.
um, I don't think you can learn to love that. I think you could probably learn to appreciate. In fact, I'll say you can learn to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, if you start to go, well, look, I'm good at this. It's not something that I enjoy, but I'm really, really good at it.
Yeah.
And it does provide my family a really good life and it provides me a lot of freedom. And, I can learn to really appreciate it and go, I'm
Hmm.
really grateful for it. I appreciate it. I don't love it. But you know what? I've got some other things in my life. I fly fish or I play golf or I play pickleball or whatever. I've got great friends. And so you know what? I like my gig. I can learn to appreciate it. But that's not love. That's
Mm.
not love. It's not.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to answer your question really, really technically and from a
Yes.
pure standpoint. Um, but let me come at this from a there is work that you would love to do. There are
Hmm.
roles, there are tasks that you naturally, if I put you in front of it and let you engage in it, you would love it. I mean, it's the same thing as a certain type of music or a sport or a extracurricular. We've all tried some things. We're like, I like it, but I can take it or leave it. I don't
Yeah.
love it, but man, you find an artist or a type of music that you love and this just turns
Yes.
you on fire. And so I think it's important to understand that you can be successful liking something.
Mm.
Um, but if you really, really, really want to be great, you're going to have to love it.
Mm.
You're going to have to love it because see,
Yeah.
love is what fuels sacrifice. Love is what fuels suffering.
Mm.
And to be great at something, you're going to have to be willing to suffer. And so understanding that is really important. So
Mm.
why would you why would you just be okay with like when love is so much better? I think that would be the question I would throw back at the cynic. And so it's really a function of what are you willing to do to discover what you love. And I don't think it's
Yeah.
that difficult. See, I'm not offering a difficult and long journey to find out what you love. I think it's actually
Yeah.
really quick. This assessment, the Get Clear assessment, and the book there on the shelf that walks you through your results will help you see what kind of things you love to do. And when you
Hmm.
love to do it, there's a good chance that you're going to be pretty good at it. And so this is for the self-aware person. Self-awareness is the superpower. And if you're willing to become self-aware, what you're good at, what you love to do, and the results that you really care deeply about are going to become very, very obvious. And all of a sudden, it's not so scary. It's not so unclear.
That is a really good word. And I just want to talk about your new book and the assessment because, Ken, just speaking transparently, I think this can change everything.
Yeah, I
Truly,
do
I
too.
think everybody should be taking this assessment because I am the type of person, and I don't know if I'm eclectic for this or not, but because I can be passionate about so many things, when a time comes where I get laid off a job or I'm in transition, I look at the search bar on a job site and exhale and think, what do I even type in? Where
Hmm.
do I even start? And so
Hmm.
this Get Clear assessment was so eye opening for me because it either validated or opened my eyes to where my actual talents are. And we can dig into that a little bit more
I can't
later.
wait.
But yes, I wanna talk about the people out there that actually are so passionate about anything that they put their mind to that, well, let me just use myself as an example.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
So have this tendency to look for jobs where I'm really passionate about the vision and mission, even if I know I'm not going to be in this career forever because I have my eyes set on other pursuits. Now, tell me how I should wrestle through that tension of not becoming so passionate about the work that I'm doing for the 40 hours a week to pursue other things that I actually become so passionate that I abandon it. I'm really wrestling with this because one is I need money to be able to fuel my pursuits outside of work, but then I become so passionate invested in my work that the pursuits don't get done.
Well, I think it's going to come down for you to some perspective, and that perspective should give you the discipline you need. So it feels like, and I'm, I don't want it to sound critical or harsh, because I'm not
No,
saying that you're
please.
not disciplined, but there may be some disciplines as it relates to focus, because focus is so powerful. So if I hear you
100%.
right, what you're saying is, um, you've got this dream, this vision,
Hmm.
that what the thing you want to do, and these pursuits. Then you'll go get a day job, and you
Hmm.
get so consumed with the day job that you stop focusing on your ultimate vision. Is that what I'm hearing you
Yes.
say?
Yes.
And so then you start to feel, I'm guessing, I'm going to take some license here, you start to feel bad about that.
Hmm.
And then I'm not saying you self-sabotage, or
Oh,
you
I
go,
do.
well, okay, that's what I
Oh, I'll be
thought.
clear. I do.
That's what I think, and that's what I'm thinking. And so then you go, well, this day job over here is the enemy of the dream job.
Mm, mm. And
Is
I
that
almost pit them against each other.
is that what's happening? I'm
Yes.
feeling my way through
Yes.
this. So what you've got to do is, here then, back to the perspective thing.
Hmm.
You have to have a different perspective, that these two are competing for your time. That has to go away.
Mm,
And what you've got to start doing is you've got to start saying, the day job, I do need to be passionate about it to the extent that I'm doing a good job, because doing
hmm.
a really good job in the day job is giving me the stability. Okay,
Yeah.
these are two words. It's one of my favorite words. Stability is a word made of stable and ability.
Mm, true.
Okay, and so I need to be stable, and in being stable financially through the day job, I now have the ability
Mm,
to pursue the dream job. So I did this. I had my own small business
right.
that was allowing me the freedom to pursue broadcasting. And it took a long time, and I
Mm,
had responsibilities, a wife and three kids that are always and forever shall be the most important priority for me. So that's what stability is. It's stable ability.
mm,
I'm stable which gives me the ability. And so what's going on is you've got these thoughts in your mind, and we need to take captive of these thoughts. You need to
Mm.
literally like arrest these thoughts, like police breaking into your mind. And every time that thought comes up that this day job is robbing me of this future, you've got to go,
Mm.
this is completely fundamentally an incorrect thought. And I'm going to say stop, and I'm going to stop thinking about it. And I have a substitute thought that is the truth, that is established, and it may
Mm.
need to be written down. Maybe it's on a mirror. I don't know what it is. Or you literally chant it to yourself every morning. I don't care how you do it,
Yeah.
but you have to have another thought in here. And the thought is, this day job is giving me the stability that I need to be able to stay the long haul. So
Wow. Yeah.
you're going to have to say, I've got to win here, but
Mm-hmm.
winning here does not mean I'm losing down the road. In fact,
Mm.
there is no next if I don't win the now. And so you've got to flip it. I've got to win the now. And when I win the now, it affords me the opportunity to step into the next.
Mm.
That needs to be your new mantra, I think.
Yeah.
So did I
I
answer that? I mean, I can
yeah.
coach you up here. I mean, that's
No.
what's going on. You got to stop. You've got to be stable
Yeah.
here. And it is the
Mm-hmm.
stability here that gives me the ability down the line. And so it's discipline, but
Mm-hmm.
it's discipline that comes from the right perspective. And I just think for you, I know you. I've had the privilege to get to know you at a conference, and I've spent at least enough time talking to you to know that you're a dreamer, and I think that you've got to learn how to dream. And if I
Mm.
could say this as your older brother for a moment, um, dreaming at the expense of doing is a soul killer.
Mm.
And I think there needs to be a whole lot of doing in the now that allow us to begin to bridge the gap to where
Wow.
um, the dream does come a reality, does
Mm-hmm.
become a reality, but it becomes a reality only because I'm doing.
Mm.
If I'm not taking care of my wife and 3 kids, I don't have the opportunity to try some things that I tried that ended up turning into massive opportunities.
Mm.
Um, do what you have to do so that later you can do what you want to do.
Wow.
That's your key here.
Yeah. Well, first off, you made me cry again. This is a thing Ken does. He made me cry in 2021. It's just because
I'm not
you
trying
really
to. I promise.
no,
I'm not
I
trying.
know, but that it's the overflow of your passion and your desire for people to experience being doing the work that they're wired to do. And
Well, let me just say this. Because I'm going to reframe what you said. All I'm doing is seeing you.
mm,
And
true.
all I'm doing is seeing you, and I am showing you what I'm seeing.
Mm,
And to the extent that I was accurate today, it got you emotionally. And so here's my point in saying this. I am on a self-awareness tour.
mm,
This assessment
yeah.
and the book together is leads to self-awareness, and self-awareness is a superpower
Mhm,
because I begin to see myself the way that everybody else sees me. I begin to see who I really am, what I can really do. And that gives us so much confidence and courage.
mm,
So the clarity of who I really am is so powerful. And
yeah.
it gives us that confidence to step out and the courage to stay with it.
Mm,
By the way, I still struggle with this. I still struggle with fear and doubt and
mm,
pride. And when I struggle with those things, I have to remember, and I do it pretty quickly now. And then to the extent that sometimes I can't do it for myself quick enough, I have people in my life that get me to clarity really fast.
mhm,
Okay.
yeah.
And if I can just say that the metaphor we'll use today is that we need a mirror, right?
Mm,
Because I can
yes.
think my shirt or my tie or my hair is all messed up, but boy, when I get in front of a mirror, now I got facts.
Mm,
And so I'm coaching you, and hopefully your audience is getting something from it. But the reason that you are experiencing emotion is because you're seeing yourself. I've shown you a mirror. I think there's something else here that I've never said before.
Hmm.
And this may be you. So tell me if this is right or wrong.
Okay.
I think when we revisit clarity or we get clarity for the first time, it's not enough to see it. You have to believe it. And I wonder if that's not what's going on with you. You've seen clarity. You've seen who you really are, but you don't believe it. Because let me give you one other little simple thing and I'll move on. I'll give it back to you. When I came in here moments ago to start this thing, there's a chair that I'm sitting in right now. Okay. And I'm going to do something I hope this really grabs some people. It's super simple. Okay. So when I stand up right here, I'm going to try to stay in the frame. Here's the chair. Okay. Right here. There's the chair. Okay. When I come in and every day we sit in a chair, there's a moment where we come in and we see the chair.
Hmm.
You with me? I see it.
Mm-hmm.
This is
Mm-hmm.
where I'm supposed to sit. Okay. But if I don't believe that the chair will hold me, the chair's no good. But I just instinctively go, oh, I see the chair. And the act of sitting means I believe the chair will hold me. And voila, the chair holds me. Super crazy, simple little illustration. But I see emotion all
Profound.
over you right now.
Yeah.
And at some point, you've got to get to a point where you believe what you see, as opposed to believe what your brain is saying or what other people have said about you. So I'm going to add that. I don't, it's not just enough to see, you must believe. I don't know. I hope that helps you.
No, it definitely helps. I think I'll just speak
We
for
got some
myself because
Kleenex right here. This is good. We need
yeah,
some
yeah,
Kleenex.
give me I've got my
There we go.
handy dandy one.
Yeah.
So, what if you are someone who sees the vision, but you're afraid of what will people think of me? What if parts of it are selfish?
Mm-hmm.
And in the process, you actually abandon the vision so
Mm-hmm.
much that you can't articulate really where you think you're going. You're just
Yeah.
hoping it lands there
Yeah. Well,
eventually.
you're dealing with good old fashioned pride. We all have pride. And the way I define pride is that we care more about what other people will say
Mm,
than what we actually believe. And I think that what has to happen here is if this is happening to you over and over again, you are going to have to bathe in clarity
mm,
for a while before you share it. In
mm,
other words, I think you're going to have to get to a point where you are so crystal clear and you allow that clarity to wash all over you and to where you yourself become so confident in overcoming your own self-doubt before we ever even get to a point of sharing it with other people. And my guess is that you're dealing with your own voices as much as you are the voices of other people. In fact,
yeah.
you're projecting what people might say, and it's like you're getting ahead of it and you're going, okay, there's this thing, but I could see people saying this and I could see people saying this, and I'm going to tell you that I think that you're the one that's saying it and you're projecting on other people, and
Oh,
you're not even winning the battle of your own mind. And so I think I would get over your own thoughts first before I started sharing with other people, because you know um, we see what we want to see. If I walk through the day feeling like the world is against me, my brain is going to find evidence that the world is against me. So I think
yeah.
it's more in your own mind and you're projecting on other people. And in the first little hint of validation of your own fear, your own doubt, then you go, well, that's what I thought. And so yeah, you've got to say with great belief that this is in fact who I am and what I want to do.
Mm,
And I might fail many times along the way, but I'm still going to end up where I'm supposed to end up. I just think it's that with you. I think that since I've met you, you've probably start and stopped so many times. I think you're exhausted emotionally. That's
yes,
what I
that's for
think.
sure.
And I think you just got to go. There's an old phrase, burn the ships, and it's like they would, like a
Yeah,
conquering army would, they go and they would say, all right, we're going to burn our ships so that we
stay
can't
here.
leave and no one else can leave.
Yeah.
And that to me is, that's resolve. And I think
Mm.
you need that. I just think you need to be okay getting hurt, and because I think the pain, there's some pain in your life somewhere, um, that has caused you to fear, um, what pain comes with stepping out. And I
Mm.
think that you're in a position where you're going to have to realize if you don't step out and stay out and deal with all of that, you're going to be an old lady who's consumed with the pain of regret. I think that's where you sit.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think this whole conversation ended up just turning into a masterclass of how to challenge people that you care about. And thank you for going
Yeah.
there
I
because
listen,
you.
I believe in you.
I know, I know.
I actually think that you can do what you want to do. Now, the version you've got initially may not end up, that may never happen, but the version you end up with is still going to be really, really, really awesome.
Hmm, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think even people listening to this right now need to hear that you don't need to be afraid to be that person to other people. Like, you don't need to be afraid to challenge people and be
Yeah.
passionate about your challenge.
Yeah.
Ken is not at all concerned about if I'm taking offense to this or if I'm taking this personally, because his desire is so much for me to grow. And so, Ken, I really thank you
Yeah.
for
Well,
that.
but there's nothing that I'm doing that's offensive. I mean,
Right?
I'm not even
Exactly.
remotely worried about being offensive because
Yeah.
what is happening here is the transfer of belief.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I'm doing the best I can to transfer it. But I think what everybody needs to walk away from here is, um, there comes a moment in time where we have to realize that if we aren't where we want to be, we are the number one reason. And it sucks. I'm not saying that people haven't done things and said things, because I've been through stuff. I mean, my first book
Yeah.
proposal got rejected 12 times. I mean,
Wow.
I got told I could never make it. I could tell all the stories of it, but who cares? Bottom line is that at some point, whatever hurdles are thrown our way, we are the reason that we don't continue. It's us.
Yep.
And that
Yes.
sucks, but there's something really empowering about it when we realize that, we have a chance to get back up, and
Yeah.
and we have to get back up. Gosh, the alternative is really bad.
Hmm. I 100% agree. I was just speaking with George Campbell a couple weeks ago on that concept of what if no one else is coming? What if you have to take full ownership
Mm,
of making the change because nobody else can do it for you?
mhm.
And so here's what I want to ask you. You said your first book proposal was rejected 12 times.
Yeah.
And so all indicators might at first look like you can't do that, you're not good enough. How did you overcome self-doubt? What tools would you impart on me in the audience?
Yeah, I just got down to a fact where I believed that it was something that I should try,
Mm.
and so I tried it. And
Yeah.
I knew that there was going to come a point probably where we knew whether a book was going to happen or not.
Mm.
And so as the rejections were coming in, there were still a few possibilities, but the list got shorter and shorter and shorter, and I was really nervous about it. But I also realized that none of my friends and family were going to disown me. My
Mm.
wife wasn't going to leave me. My kids weren't going to stop loving me if I didn't get a book deal. And I had some perspective that very few people ever become a published author. I mean, the percentage of the population that become a published author is minuscule,
Yeah.
infinitesimal potentially. I don't know what the number is, but I can tell you it's really, really low.
Yeah.
And so I had enough perspective to go, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. This will be really, really exciting if it happens. But if it doesn't happen, this is one other thing that I'm throwing out there, and let's see if it
Mm.
sticks. And so the doubt kind of just lives. Here's what something I didn't realize until many years later, that fear and doubt and pride, they come with the territory when you're doing something,
Mm.
or you're attempting to do something, or you're thinking about doing something. Now, if you stop thinking about doing anything, you become average, you become a zombie of life, just kind of, walking your way through, bouncing around, whatever comes your way. Um, Fear, doubt, and pride go away. If you never try anything at all, fear, doubt, and pride go away.
That's so true.
But you're a soulless human at that point. At
Yes.
some point, you really do become a zombie.
Hmm.
And so it's way you have to really look at it is, and maybe this will be a breakthrough for somebody today. But if you're going to attempt to be intentional in anything, fear, doubt, and pride are part of the deal. They're the price of admission. If you want to get in the arena and play,
Wow.
well, guess what? But to the people who sit on the bleachers of life, there you go. You don't have to deal with any of that. Um, that's the deal. So I either settle and just sit on the bleachers and watch everybody else play, or I decide to get in and play and deal with what comes.
That's amazing. As I'm hearing you talk about this, I am thinking of so currently, context for the audience is I'm in a season of unemployment right now. And one of the worst things about being unemployed is that you actually feel no purpose because our work is so intricately tied to our feeling of purpose and I
Mhm.
would say servitude in a sense. And I'm thinking of you saying fear, pride, and
Doubt.
doubt.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So fear, pride, doubt, and how it's so interesting that most businesses, I saw the statistic the other day, most businesses start up on the heels of getting fired or laid off from a job.
Hmm.
So it's almost like we have to get forced into a position of feeling
Hmm.
so purposeless that we realize there has to be something else. And I'm saying that to encourage people out there that are in a job that they have absolutely no passion for. The purpose is getting the paycheck when that's not much of a purpose. You should go
Hmm.
from paycheck to purpose, which is why you should buy Ken's book. But it's just a really interesting concept to think through that all of these being intricately tied together are not actually bad things. They're just
No.
lead
So
indicators.
so let's
Yeah.
take that the point you made about people getting laid off or fired and then starting a business. Part of what's going on there is we're acting, not thinking anymore. So it's
Mm,
just why the mother bird pushes the baby out of the nest when it's time. Because the baby bird at that point is very warm, mama's bringing the worms, everything is comfortable,
yeah.
but she knows that she's got to push the baby out of the nest because when the baby starts to feel the gravity hit, that the baby will do what is instinctive. And what
Yeah.
the baby does that's instinctive is begin to flap their wings and they fly.
Yeah.
Okay. So that entrepreneur piece is not always the best reaction,
Right.
but what it speaks to is, um, I'm acting instinctively,
Mm,
right?
mm,
There's no more
mm.
thinking. I gotta fly, or the alternative to not flying is what? Splat.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
understand there's great power there. And the lesson should be, I don't want to wait to be kicked out of the nest.
Yeah.
How do I begin to act instinctively? And the instinct is to survive. All right.
Yep.
So let's not just settle for survive. Let's thrive. Let's fly. Like, what
Hmm.
does that
Hmm.
look like? Okay. What does it
Yeah.
look like to actually say, it's time to fly? And
Yeah.
so I'm going to put myself in a situation. Now, it does not mean, by the way, I don't want to get this metaphor so rich or deep that people go, oh, I got to just jump. No,
Yeah.
it's let's figure out what flying looks like. That's why I wrote that book. That book with the assessment is what does it. But to know who I am, what
Hmm.
is my instinct? What does flying look like for me?
Yes.
That's huge. And to the extent that we figured that out, then we launch out of the nest on our own as
Hmm.
opposed to someone else kicking us out. So,
Sure.
so the real lesson here is when forced, we act instinctively.
Mm.
But isn't it
Great.
better to act instinctively and force yourself as opposed to
Yes.
someone else pushing you out. I
Yes.
think that's the better alternative. And and
I
and listen,
yeah.
that's what I did in my own life.
Mhm.
I forced myself out of the nest.
Yeah.
And boy, I
You
like
you
that a
literally
lot
burned the
better.
ships. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's like, hey, I did a lot of learning about myself. I figured out, all the options that I thought I was wired to do. This is all before I had any of
Yeah.
this methodology. And then I said, okay, I think it's going to take. I remember telling my wife, and my wife will tell you this. I mean, it's amazing, by the way, uh, how these things play out. But
Mm.
I remember telling her I thought it was going to take 5 to 7 years
Mm.
before I was going to be able to do this broadcasting thing full time and take care of us.
Wow.
And it was almost 7 years to the day.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
that was based on, some research and some gut
Mhm.
and so anyway, all that said, that's the key learning there. Don't let
Yeah.
someone else push you out. Although if they do, you're fine. You'll be okay.
Mhm.
But push yourself out. And by the way,
Yeah.
I keep bringing this back to you because I think that's what's going on with you.
I
Um,
agree.
you know, so anyway,
No, I agree, and what I like about that metaphor with the flying is you don't just fly, you have to be going in a certain direction, right? And so that's what
yeah,
the assessment actually does, is
yes,
takes it from up here to,
hmm
okay, now aim this way.
that's
And
right.
so
That's right.
I
Oh,
think
this is really great. Boy, I love that. I grew
yes.
up in the beach. Okay. And so when you grow up in the beach, I grew up in Virginia Beach area,
Okay.
Norfolk area, Tidewater, Virginia, and we'd go to the beach. And I remember early on discovering seagulls, and
Mm,
seagulls love to just kind of coast. Not many birds do this, but they really do it.
mhm,
And they'll just sit there on the beach over the ocean, just hovering and letting the wind kind of blow them wherever.
true.
That's not what we want
Yeah.
to do. We want to be really intentional, and this idea of flying, it's really about soaring.
Mm,
It's about doing your thing. So anyway, to beat the
wow.
metaphor to death,
No,
don't
we'll
be a
beat it to
seagull.
death.
Don't be a seagull. Seagulls aren't, they aren't particularly great birds. They fly in, make a lot of noise, crap on everybody, and fly away.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
I mean, should we draw that metaphor out more of what
yes, you
seagull
know what that is? That's
yeah.
bad leadership.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
seagull leaders fly in, make a bunch of noise, crap on everybody, and fly away. Don't
I
be
think
that kind of leader.
I think this is your next book, Ken. Don't be a seagull.
It might be. It
Heard
might
it here
be.
first. We're workshopping it
That's
already.
right. Don't be a seagull leader, right? There you go. That's rich.
So, Ken, let's talk about your new book and what inspired you to actually do it. Tell us everything that you want the audience to know.
Well, just briefly on this, I had created an assessment was really the inspiration. This book is essentially a coaching manual. You can read it in about 45 minutes or less, and it's
Mhm.
only effective. The book is only effective to the extent that you took the assessment.
Right.
Reading the book without the assessment is just nonsensical. So you get your results, and this book was written as a coaching manual to say, okay, now we've got your results. Let me walk you through what you do next, because the
Mhm.
assessment reveals for you who you are.
Mm.
This is not a personality assessment. This is not some assessment that spits out what job you're supposed to have. No assessment can do that. That's
Right.
garbage. If somebody tells you that, they're full of crap. It's bad science and they're manipulating you. This tool does one thing and one thing only, allows you to see who you are.
Mm.
And it's the three wires: what I do best, what I love to do most, and the results that matter most to me. We call it talent, passion, mission, three wires, right? And
Yes.
so it's a self awareness tool, is what this is. You're going to get a deep dive on those three wires, explanation. We go even further than that, show you where you're below average and stuff to ignore in each of those three areas.
Mhm.
And so you walk away with this tremendous mirror looking at yourself and you go, I can see me as a professional and from a high level. And now this book comes along and goes, okay, we've answered, the assessment has answered who you are. Now let's figure out what you want to do, where you can do it.
Mhm. And having just taken the test, I really loved the area where you actually said what to ignore or where your strengths are not. And it's
Yeah,
done in a gentle way, but I think that can save people years of flop jobs or
100%.
mistakes that they're making in the job that they don't realize are actually to their detriment because they're spending so much time
Yeah.
focusing on something that they're not the
Great
best
point.
at, where they should just
Yeah.
redirect.
It's
So,
sucking energy from you, and you're wondering, why am I so mentally, emotionally exhausted? Well,
right.
in large part, it's probably because you're doing work that you may not be really good at, or
Hmm.
work that you just don't enjoy. And you just
Yes.
going, oh, and if I were to remove that from my day, game changer.
Yeah. No, I agree. I love taking the assessment. And just so everybody knows, the book and the assessment are not hundreds of dollars, okay? It's not even $40. And it's so eye-opening because it's not a personality test. It's just a guide map to help you in all of your future endeavors, or at least to redirect from the current endeavor that you're in.
Yeah.
And the test took 20 minutes to do. I'm reading through the book right now, and it's so helpful. So Ken, I just want to say thank you for creating it. And
Man,
I
you're
know
welcome.
I heard you on another podcast say that genuinely you created it.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I worked on all of the language and the words with the attempt to try to make it, simple to understand.
yeah.
And it's again, there's no magic to it.
Hmm.
All we're doing in this assessment, this tool, is asking you questions about yourself, and you're giving us the answer. We're consolidating and giving it back to you. There's no voodoo here.
Yeah.
But to
Yeah.
the extent that you're honest with yourself, the results blow people away. They're like, "Oh my gosh, you nailed me!" And I always go, "No, I didn't. You nailed yourself. Congratulations." I mean, that's really the truth, and
Yeah.
that's why it's such a powerful tool. I want to go
Yeah.
through your results. I feel like we got to
All
do
right.
it. We got to do it.
Let's
You
do
need
it.
some extra clarity, or you need some kind of a jolt of confidence.
I
So
do.
let's
It's
go.
true.
All right.
So I was created to use my talents of communication, imagination, and connection to perform my passions of leading, performing, and advising,
Mhm.
to accomplish my mission of service. But as I looked through them, I also felt like influence was probably
Well,
right next to it.
influence probably scored second then in your results,
Okay.
because we show you. So if you go back and look at the
Oh,
ranking of
okay.
your missional results,
It is. It is. It's second.
okay, good. And so that's why that's there. And so again, this is just, it's not like we're limited to our top three. We're
Right.
looking, when we look at our assessment results, when you're looking, you need to look at everything that's above average. And
Mm,
because I can turn a solid talent into a super talent with effort.
mm,
Okay. And
sure.
so with the passion, same deal. I can take some things that are, I don't, that I like, and there could be some love there. And then with the missional, same thing. So um there are four types of work. So I'm giving people the science underneath this assessment.
Great.
There are four types of work that if you were to take all the jobs in the world and you were to put them in categories, there would be four types: idea work,
Mm,
people work, process work, and object or thing based work. Okay.
mm,
And to
hmm.
explain objects and things, it's more tactile. I'm with
Sure.
a hammer, whatever. It's just
Do with
more.
your hands.
That's right. So when I heard your results, it's very obvious to me that there's one type of work that is jumping off the page in neon lights. And I'll let you tell me what you think it is, and I'll correct you if I need to. Idea work, people work, process work, object work. What are your results? Scream, say them, give them to us. You don't have to read it, just give us the top three, three,
Yeah.
and one.
Communication,
Communication,
imagination,
imagination, connection.
connection,
Okay.
and then leading, performing, advising.
And then
Well,
service, and
and
influence.
service, yes.
So which one screams?
So
What
I
type of
feel like
work?
it's split between idea or the people.
Yeah, but it's leading with people.
Okay.
Read the top three talents again:
Okay. Yeah, you're
communication,
right.
imagination,
Imagination,
connection.
connection.
Now, there's no question that we've got people and ideas there. The
Hmm.
imagination piece is the ideas.
Hmm.
The communication piece is also ideas. That's the space
Gotcha.
that I'm in. So if you take what I do, I live completely in two buckets,
Mm.
and only two. Okay,
Yeah.
people and ideas.
Hmm.
I'm the most disorganized person on the planet. I'm lucky to make it to work or to my next stop. Can't ever find my keys. I
Amen.
am
I
not.
feel that.
I'm not a system guy. Okay, I'm not systems. and I sure as heck can't fix anything. I can barely put gas in my car. So things, so for me, I'm not a well-rounded guy.
Mm,
So the areas of talent for me and passion are clearly people and ideas. Same thing with you. Okay.
yes.
Now, what's interesting is let's look at the top three passions. Give them to us one more time.
Leading,
Mhm.
performing. I would say that's probably number one. Advising, which
Okay.
actually surprised me. But then once I read it, it made more sense.
Yeah, it made more sense, right?
Yeah.
And so then your top missional result, the results that motivate you the most are serving people. You are just a people person.
Hmm.
You're good at people stuff and you love working with people. Now we're looking to get specific. And so she needs to look at her results to go, okay, the type of work that she loves. Well, leading does not necessarily mean you got to be a manager or a supervisor. It's not limited to that.
Hmm.
Leading is about influence. So as a parent, we are leading our kids. As a boss, we're leading people.
Mm.
As an author, you're leading people, right? In the sense of I'm influencing. So if we were to take the word leading out and put in influencing, it becomes so much broader.
Mm.
And so we don't get stuck on a job title here. Now we're talking about a function. Like,
Mm.
and so you love influencing people. In fact, it's number 2 on your missional results. Service. I want to
Yeah.
serve people. Well, guess what? Guess what leading really is? It's
Serving.
serving. So there's something interesting there.
Mm.
And so it would be, how would I serve people? Do I serve people in a traditional leadership supervisor role, or do
Mm.
I serve them in maybe creating content or doing something that is an advisory role? And I think the advising thing came from you because I think you have a deep desire to tell people something good that will help them. True or false?
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's how this is really personal to you. So if we look at leading, performing, and I'm going to explain the performing piece. So I recently read in a book called Top Dog: The Science of Winning and Losing. I
Mm.
read some research that's in that book that there are essentially two types of people in the world as it relates to pressure.
Mm.
People who perform at their best when they're under pressure, and people who perform at their best when they've removed all pressure.
Mm.
There's not one, you're not right or wrong here. It's just the way you're
Wow.
wired.
Yeah.
Okay. I can tell you that anybody who has the result of performing does better under pressure.
Yes.
All right. And I can also tell you that there's a high correlation with people that are wired that way to throughout their academic career and even on big projects at work, they tend to procrastinate. Okay. And so it's
Yes.
actually, procrastination is not a sign of laziness.
It's a tool.
Procrastination is a sign of your body going, mm, I got no juice for that. It's 2 weeks
Yeah.
away.
Put the
I
pressure on
get
me.
I
Yeah.
get the juice for that when it's the next morning. And so
Yes.
understanding your wiring. Now you flip that just for the rest of the audience, you know, if you're a person that really tends to wilt under pressure, now you need to listen to that and go, it doesn't mean that I can't do things that have high pressure. It just means that I need to plan and create a process to remove as much of the pressure as possible.
Mm.
And then my instincts will be okay when I have prepared, and I actually can outperform the people that do really well under pressure because that ultimate. So I know that I am a preparation person. So I can take something, an assignment that has a lot of pressure attached to it initially, if I allow myself enough time to prepare for it. So that's the magic of that data and
Yeah.
in knowing yourself. So the performing piece for you is you come alive when there's pressure. And so, whether it be in front of 20 people or 200 people or 2,000 people, you need to acknowledge that you need to be in a job that has a decent amount of pressure,
Mm.
um,
Hmm.
that will allow you to let your body do its best. See, your body and my body, this is really chemical.
Mm.
Our bodies um, need that pressure, and the pressure gives us the dopamine that we need to be at our best.
Wow.
versus other people, it creates the serotonin, I believe is the chemical. It's a stress
Yeah.
chemical. And so it's like, you got to, like, our bodies are wired a certain way. And so
Yeah.
it's so understanding that. And so, you know, that performing piece is coming out in your results. And
Mm.
so for you to be really fulfilled at work, you're going to have that level of pressure on you.
That's fascinating and actually really freeing as well because I've seen it as a problem. But this makes
Mm-mm.
sense as to why I am a person that's drawn to really fast paced startup style careers
Pressure.
because it is do or die. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you need to
So,
understand this. This is really important. It's not a problem, it's a preference.
mm,
Your body,
mm,
your wiring prefers it.
mm,
So now you got to step into it. So
wow.
essentially, now what I want people to get from this tool, the Get Clear Assessment, is it creates for you a really nice perspective purpose statement, and which is a high level job description. And essentially, you can keep coming back to the purpose statement. Read it one more time for the audience.
I was created to use my talents of communication, imagination, connection to perform my passion of leading, performing, advising to accomplish my mission of service by producing assistance and protection.
There you go. Assistance and protection. See, there's a
Yeah.
caregiving, that advisor role. You want to come alongside and protect people from things that maybe you've experienced, and give them advice going forward. So what happens is we come back to that purpose statement as we're searching, and we're going, and we're going, now listen, this job interview or this decision is as much mine as it is the people that
Mm,
are considering hiring me, because I need to be spending, rule of thumb here, 75% of my day
wow.
in this purpose statement, doing this. If I'm doing that, I'm very fulfilled. And the 75% is just a way of helping your brain get to a point of going, you know, there are things sometimes I have to do here in my job that I
Mm,
don't particularly like.
yes.
Do you know what I mean? But it's a small percentage of my day. Most of my day, I'm communicating and creating and, connecting and all that kind of stuff. So when I've got to sit in too long meetings, I
Mm,
don't gripe too
yes.
much. Do you know what I
Totally.
mean?
So, as we're coming to the close, because I want to be respectful of your time, what are some final words of encouragement that you would like to impart on the audience?
We'll start with this. When you get better, your paycheck gets bigger. Okay. So when we're talking about professional growth and advancing, because we all want to advance to make more money, because we understand that more money gives us more margin. So understand, out of this whole entire conversation, my encouragement is, as what I said earlier, that
Mm,
self-awareness is a superpower. So a couple of big statements. Okay. Self-awareness is a superpower. Statement number one. Statement number two, when I get better, my
mm,
paycheck will get bigger. Statement number two. Okay. And statement number three is, I cannot grow myself until I know myself. Okay. So we got two self awareness statements, right? That kind of sandwich in this ultimate goal that everybody wants. And so it's really, really important that you know yourself, and knowing yourself is the
sure.
key to growing yourself. And so those are just three bumper stickers there. It's a sandwich, that I think everybody needs to get today. And if you can figure this out, here's what you're going to learn: that you will be able to control the things that you can
Mm,
control and should control, because there's so much in our life that we cannot control. We cannot control um, somebody beating us out. We cannot control being
right.
passed over. Sometimes there's some decisions that, no matter what happens, what we do, the decision is made, or a circumstance happens, or a
Hmm.
pandemic comes along, or a health crisis comes along. And so you got to understand that we can't control a lot of things that happen to us, but we can control how we
Mm,
happen to
hmm.
that. Things happen. Are you happening to life, or is life happening to you? And the ability to happen to life is solely based on our
Wow.
self awareness. No matter what's coming at us, am I aware of how I'm reacting? Am I aware of what I can do? Am I aware of my options? Am I aware of how
Mm,
I act when I get squeezed? And so we get to the point where we go, now this I can control, and I can control me.
Brilliant.
And again, this is in the context of,
Mhm.
of professional growth, but it has great personal implications as well. So, I can't control somebody doing something bad to me, but I can
Yeah.
control how I react to it.
If you didn't feel encouraged and challenged to go after pursuing what you're wired to do, let alone finding what you're wired to do, then I don't know what you're doing. And so that's why I think everyone needs to buy Ken's new book, which includes the Get Clear assessment in it for you to take. And that is exactly what will happen. You will get clear on what you are wired to do and have the next steps laid out for you to put you in the right direction. So, Ken, I think this has been a beautifully helpful conversation.
You bet.
So, thank you so much for the wisdom that you imparted and for being on the
You
Accidentally
bet. Thanks
Intentional
for having me.
podcast.